Kenyan communities have had their fair share of great seers and medicine men throughout history, and one of the most renowned across the nation is probably a man by the name 𝗤𝗛𝗣𝗣𝗢, also known as Mugo Kibiru. Mugo Kibiru is best known for his accurate prophecies regarding the coming of the white man. And if you're a fan of Kenyan folklore, or if you have checked out my video on the legend of 𝗤𝗛𝗣𝗣𝗢, then you know that most prophets from Kenyan communities are remembered for prophesying the invention of Europeans, which probably marked the darkest and bloodiest period in the history of all Kenyan communities. Born in Murang'a, Kenya, Mugo Kibiru was both a seer and medicine man. And like other medicine men in Agikuyu communities who came before and after him, his role was to cure diseases and help those who had been inflicted by evil spirits. Other areas he will partake in include love affairs and war. In fact, warriors in the Agikuyu community will not go to war before consulting a native medicine man and offering sacrifices as required. And since Mugo Kibiru was also a prophet, he was even more valuable because he could also predict the outcome of the upcoming battle. And whenever he saw that the Kikuyu were going to lose, he would go into the wilderness, offer sacrifices, and pray for days in an effort to appease the ancestors and Kikuyu gods so all warriors could return safely and victorious. Now, you may be wondering how medicine men knew how to treat diseases or evil possessions without experience. Well, according to a collection of different Kenyan legends, this is how it worked. Let's say Martin is sick and intends to visit a medicine man. The medicine man will have a vision the night before Martin visits, and in the vision, he will be guided to a cure he can use to heal whatever Martin is ailing from. And if the medicine man follows the exact route the following day, then he will find the herbal cure at the exact spot as shown in the vision. Also, allow me to mention that according to Kikuyu mythologies, a seer or medicine man is not the same as a witch doctor. The Agikuyu believed that seers and medicine men like Mugo Kibiru were from God, whereas witch doctors were of the devil. Now, let's talk about Mugo Kibiru's origin and childhood. Once upon a time, there lived a hunter in Murang'a named Kibiru. Every morning, Kibiru would go into the forest to inspect his traps and see if he had caught anything. According to legend, his favorite animals to catch included wild pigs and stray goats. One morning while checking his traps, he found that he had caught nothing. But as he was checking his last trap, he found a young boy seated under a nearby tree. It was both weird and dangerous for a child to be in that part of the forest at that time in the morning and without the supervision of an adult. So Kibiru naturally asked the boy what his name was, what he was doing there, and where he was coming from. But all the boy uttered is, "I come from Ngai," Ngai being the Kikuyu term for God. And since Kibiru was living at a time when every African community believed in mystery and prophets, he was surprised by the young boy's response, but he decided not to interfere. So he went on inspecting and shifting his traps. However, as Kibiru turned to leave, the little boy got up and followed him back to the village, where Kibiru asked around the community if anyone knew anything about a lost boy. And after no one came forward, Kibiru decided to adopt the boy. So he underwent the required rituals when one is adopting, and after the kid officially became his, he named him 𝗤𝗛𝗣𝗣𝗢𝗥, which means Shege of Kibiru. What we know up to this point will place the birth of Mugo Kibiru in the early 1700s, because the great transformation of the Kikuyu from hunters and pastoralists into mainly agriculturists happened after working iron became widespread in Africa around the late 17th century. Growing up, Mugo's role was to look after his father's cattle alongside other boys his age in the community. But whenever he was free, Mugo would go into the woodlands, even though his fellow children tried to persuade him not to, out of fear he might get attacked by wild animals. You have to remember, at the time, no one knew he would become one of the greatest medicine men in the community, which means that one of his gifts must have included the power to control animals. That said, no one knows what Mugo will do in the wilderness. But on one day, he stayed really late and came home after dark, so his father asked him where he was coming from. All he answered was, "I was with Ngai," meaning I was with God. And remembering the circumstances he had found him in the forest, his father was reluctant to probe any further, so he just asked him to go to bed. But Mugo's strange behavior didn't end there. As a young boy, he would accurately tell his father if someone was planning on visiting the following day, and he would even disclose the location of lost things, such as cattle, with unmatched accuracy. So, needless to say, not long after, word went around the entire village regarding Mugo Kibiru's gift. And as he grew older, the Agikuyu elders started involving him in serious community affairs, including wars. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the post, he would blaze warriors before they left for war. And if he saw in his visions that they were going to lose, he would go into the wilderness and pray to his ancestors under a mugumo tree. Also, before continuing, allow me to mention that according to Kikuyu mythologies, a mugumo tree is a sacred tree used as a shrine during religious ceremonies, such as offering sacrifices and prayer sessions. As such, it is taboo to cut down a Mugumo tree, as doing so will usually bring a curse upon the entire community. But if the tree falls down on its own, then it is a signal a major shift in power is coming, and it's up to the community's council of elders to evaluate the situation and discern whether the shift will be in their favor or not. In addition to that, Kikuyu natives believe that going around a Mugumo tree anointed for religious rituals 7 times will instantly change your gender from male to female and vice versa. Another held belief in the community is that spirits of Fresha's ancestors who died in the past hovers around the tree, and some people have even claimed to have heard voices of their loved ones when close to the trees. Now back to our story. When Mugo Kibiru came of age and was ready to move out on his own, he built his home inside the Mugumo tree he was using for prayers and went on prophesying. Then on one chilly morning, Mugo Kibiru blew his horn in a way that indicated everyone was supposed to gather at his dwelling under the Mugumo tree. Unknown to the community, this was the day he would predict the coming of the white man. He said that a group of people was coming and the skin would look like 𝗣𝗟𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘, which is a small 𝗣𝗟𝗘𝗔𝗡 frog that can be found in water bodies. He also mentioned that Kikuyus would be able to see their blood flowing under their skin, just like the frog. In addition to that, these people will wear clothes that resemble 𝗍𝗛𝗏𝗓, which is a Kikuyu word for butterflies. And in their pockets, they will carry magical sticks that will produce fire, and it will be foolish for our warriors to fight them using their spears. Our warriors will have to learn their ways of movements and traps if they want to have a fighting chance. These invaders will also result in the cultural erosion of Kikuyu tribal customs, and our youths will be influenced to adopt their ways. Mugo Kibiru also prophesied that a snake will stretch from the coastal region and go through the Kikuyu land, and then another snake riding on top of the first one will swallow and spit these Caucasians while stopping at different destinations. The snake will also have a bushy head that breathes fire. This section of his prophecy proved to be talking about the construction of the Kenya-Uganda railway station, which started in 1896. To conclude the prophecy, Mugo Kibiru said that there will be a great famine that will strike Kikuyu land right before the arrival of these people, and that after many years of terror, a famous Mugumo tree used for religious practices in Thika will die and fall to mark the end of these invaders' rule. When the Europeans took over Kenya several centuries after Mugo Kibiru's death, belief in the prophecy was so strong among Kikuyu communities that the colonial government did everything it could to maintain the Mugumo tree Mugo Kibiru was talking about. Some of their efforts included adding soil and putting this iron ring around the tree to make sure it did not fall. But all these efforts were in vain. Shortly before Kenya gained independence from the British rule in 1963, the Mugumo tree was struck by lightning and split into 2, after which it started withering extremely quickly. Not long after that, it mysteriously fell out of the iron ring. Today, some scholars cast doubt on these prophecies, claiming that Mugo Kibiru must have heard about the white man and trains from Kikuyus who occasionally visited the coastal region for trade purposes. They also claim that these Kikuyu traders must have known about colorful articles of clothing and guns from Arabs and Caucasians in the region. However, the question remains, how did Mugo Kibiru know that the railway would stretch and go through the Kikuyu land centuries before it was laid out? Remember, the construction didn't start until 1896, long after Mugo Kibiru was dead. Add to that Mugo's prophecy about the falling giant Mugumo tree that will signify the end of colonial rule, as well as the great famine that ravaged the nation of Kenya in the late 19th century. You can also top it off with the subsequent cultural erosion of African customs and values. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comment section below? That's it for today, and thank you for joining me. Kindly do not forget to subscribe so you can receive the notification every time I upload a new video. Also, if you liked the video, kindly smash the like button and leave a comment below. This will help the channel grow and allow me to make more videos in the future.